Pesky pole down the line. He's going to be out of here. Line down the right field line toward the Pesky pole. Leaping up, and that ball is gone. That's a home run. They're a lot of our Nesson team as well. High fly down the right field line, headed toward the Pesky pole. That one tucked in, and that ball is going to lead against the wall and into second base. Number retired, and now Rafael Devers trying to retire that baseball inside the Pesky pole.
Welcome to another episode of the Pesky Podcast. I'm your host, the Ritt. With me, like always, is my man DC, the OG George Sutherland. And we have two guests, one here now, one will be here in a little bit. Our first little guest is Chris Van D. And we're going to be sitting there talking a little winter meetings today. We're going to play a little name the player and the best team fit you think for the player. So, you know, we're going to try to be a little realistic because, of course, some of these guys, let's bring them to the Red Sox. Let's bring them to the Red Sox. We'll love that. But some people just might not be the fit for us. So let's go around real quick. DC, what's been going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Living a dream, being a dad, working.
So, it gets better. Actually, it gets worse too, man.
Two girls.
So,
yeah.
Oh, George, what's been going on with you, man? How you been doing?
Good. Busy with my new venture. But things are good. Getting ready for the Christmas season. All that good stuff. But yeah, on the whole, pretty good.
Okay, and Chris, what's been going on, man? I sit there and we talked a little bit online. You went and bought one of our awesome shirts. So
I did.
So how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's Friday at work, so got a little bit of time to join you guys. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Let's start a little hot. So we're gonna go right off the top of the market, and we're gonna go Shohei Ohtani. So a lot of rumors going around. I don't like 3/4 of them. So George, let's start with you. Where do you think the perfect fit would be for Shohei Ohtani to sign?
I mentioned it before. It'll probably be the West Coast, and my dark horse candidate is still Seattle. I think that how Ichiro is treated there is going to land big for him. I think he's done with the mess that the Angels are right now, and the Adi Moreno circus. So I wouldn't be surprised if he signed with Seattle. They've been very quiet. They did a little salary dumping and things like that. Maybe to open up some space. I don't know, but I think he'll feel comfortable there. It's a shorter trip to Tokyo.
Okay. DC, what about you, man? Where's Shohei taking his services, or the best fit for him to take the services, you think?
I'm going to go a little off the beaten path. I'm going to say the Rangers. I think you have Scherzer and Eovaldi coming off the books after 2024. Eovaldi's the besting option for 25. So 25 he'll be able to pitch. Obviously, we were talking before the show. We don't know how long he's going to be able to pitch with two Tommy Johns at this point. But, it's a winning team. He has a chance to contend right away. Can you imagine that offense? Could be one of the first 1,000-run teams in how long? I think it was like 99. I just think it's a really good fit, for him overall. Make the money and have a chance to win immediately.
Man, and just think next year, in 2025, you got Ohtani and DeGrom. Like, that's pretty good right there.
Just a lot of question marks as far as health, but on paper, looks really good.
Yeah. Chris, what about you, man? Well, what do you think the best fit would be?
Best fit, I'm going to have to agree. It's got to be the Mariners. You can't dismiss the Ichiro factor and how much he's appreciated there and how much he's beloved there. You can't deny that. And I think Ohtani sees that. And right there, I mean, I think it's the perfect fit with him and J-Rod. I mean, that's sellouts for seasons to come up in Seattle.
Okay, and we're here with a great guy on Twitter, Ballpark Buzz, Mr. Micah Storms. Right now, we're talking about we're going over the free agency list, where you think the perfect fit would be, and of course, we got to start off with the top with Shohei Ohtani. So, Micah, well, what are you thinking the perfect fit would be for Shohei?
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I apologize for being a couple minutes late. You never know what Wi-Fi is going to do to you. So we're up and running now. But with Ohtani, I think it's going to come down to who has kind of the most money and also the ability to win. And I feel like there's only maybe 2 or 3 teams who would probably be willing to go really, really high in terms of the price and who can also give him the opportunity to win year after year. My pick has been the Dodgers. I think they were waiting for him. Maybe the Tommy John surgery changes a little bit of their view of him at the moment, because if you look at their rotation, they really do need starting pitching help. But I think he's going to be a Dodger when it's all said and done.
Yeah, the Dodgers are, I think, in worse, position than we are for starting pitchers. If they want Kershaw to come back, Kershaw can pretty much, say what he wants, in my opinion of, everybody else is getting 25 mil. Why can't I? You know what I mean? So an extra bat in the lineup this year, I don't think it's going to be beneficial to the Dodgers personally. My perfect fit is a team that is for the past 2 seasons has tried to make one hell of a splash and just something messed up each time. I'm saying the San Francisco Giants. They're willing to spend that money. I talked to George about this last week. They tried to spend the money with Carrera. Something happened. Aaron Judge. Something happened. I think the San Francisco is going to be all in. They're going to want us to take away definitely something that is the Dodgers want. And I think that would be fantastic for them to do. So that's where I think, the perfect fit would be. Stays on the West Coast. It's a pitcher's ballpark. So when he does come back from Tommy John surgery, and he's able to pitch, it could help him out, with the pitcher's ballpark. And that extra bat in the lineup, man, they haven't seen somebody since Bonds being able to hit in that bay consistently like Ohtani could. So that's who I'm saying. Next up, we're going to go Yamamoto. So, Chris, we're going to start with you for the perfect fit because you're on a time restraint. So where do you see the perfect fit for Yamamoto to be?
I mean, other than the Red Sox, I would say the Dodgers or the Giants, to be honest. I mean, both are in need of pitching. I mean, I think the Red Sox are the perfect fit, especially with Yoshida there. They were teammates before, stuff like that. Hopefully that gives us an edge. But, I mean, if it's not going to be the Red Sox, I can see the Dodgers or even the Yankees pulling for them.
Okay. George, what about you, man? Where are you seeing Yamamoto go?
I honestly believe he's coming to Boston. I think that, right now he's going around, he's doing his road show and everything. They've already said that nothing's happening until after the winter meetings. He wants the spotlight to himself. And I think he, for all accounts, he and Yoshida got along. He's going on the record saying, listen, I don't care if I play with another Japanese player, which is refreshing. But, I think that, I think he's coming to Boston. I really do. Because I think that John Henry's going to open the checkbook. He doesn't want to get booed again.
Okay. DC, what about you?
I'm going to go with George and say I think Boston, but I can see the Mets throwing a bunch of money at him that could sway him. But having Yoshida factor, they got to make a move. They need a top line starter. I think it just makes too much sense. I just hope John Henry can, pull the trigger on that one.
Micah, what about you, man?
I want to say Boston in the biggest way because, in my opinion, this is the move to get fans back in the stands and get the excitement and just going into 2024. The buzz would be real, but I just have to kind of see the Red Sox spend the money first before I actually believe it. It's been quite some time since we've seen them open up a checkbook like that. I think the Giants are a real competitor. I think that ballpark would be perfect for him. It's a pitcher's ballpark, and West Coast, they need a big name, a big free agent to go there. The only thing with the Giants is I can't think of a time when they were able to sign a free agent for $150+ million. Like, I just don't know when the last time they've done that. So this would be a first. But it hasn't been for lack of effort over the last couple of years. They've been, like you said, they've been in on players. I have a feeling he could go there, but I really hope I'm wrong. And I really hope George is right and he comes to Boston, because that would be a game changer. And it would really, I feel like, cement Breslow as the guy to lead the Red Sox over the next couple of years.
Well, let's just keep it going here. 3 up top. My heart telling me Boston. Like, there isn't too many other teams that can say they know how to treat and cater to Japanese players like the Red Sox. So I really want to sit there and say that, Koji has been helping us. You got to sit there and say he's going to have to take in consideration with Yoshida how, well he's been treated here and welcomed by the Boston sports. And, like you said, Micah, with John Henry, these Red Sox fans aren't going to be happy with Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery combination. They're not. They need that one big name that's going to be like all in, and I think that has to be Yamamoto. So I'm saying Yamamoto best fit will be Boston for not only the team but for the city, and the fans as well. Let's go Blake Snell. So DC, let's start with you. Where are you thinking Blake Snell's perfect fit could be?
I want to say, excuse me, sorry. I'd say the Cardinals. I think they're in desperate need of pitching. They're willing to overpay. I really wouldn't mind him in Boston. I'm a big fan of him, to be honest with you. Obviously, it's not the big splash like Yamamoto, but he still is an ace. And, he's proved it in the postseason. But I'd say if I had to put a shot in the dark, probably the St. Louis Cardinals.
Okay. George, what about you?
I think the Dodgers will tab him. They're in, as we said before, they're in the same boat the Red Sox are. They need quality arms. So I think he goes to LA.
Chris, what about you?
I mean, with the Artie Moreno shit show that he runs, I could see him actually going to the.
Yeah, that would be wild.
That would be crazy, wouldn't it?
I could see it though.
That's my dark horse.
Okay. Michael, what about you?
I would be very upset if the Red Sox signed him. I think the walks, the high pitch count that he always has, he doesn't work deep into games. I just don't see him aging well. So I don't want him in Boston. I think the Dodgers would be a great fit because they seem to identify pitchers who they can maximize their value. And if he goes 5 innings, if he goes 6 innings, that's fine. They're just worried about putting up zeros. And I feel like you could find a lot of success in LA because they have the pitching program to, not overwork him. Whereas if he goes to the Red Sox are going to expect him to throw 100 to 110 pitches every start, work deep into games. And I just don't know if that is who Blake Snell is as a pitcher. I think he's more of a 5-6 inning max pitcher.
Yeah, I'm right with you, Micah. I don't really care for Blake Snell coming to those Red Sox. He yeah, he has 2 Cy Youngs. That's nice, but we blow up our bullpen enough as it is, and to put that extra, you're paying this man to be a starting pitcher, not to pitch 5-6 innings. We need him to go six and a third, sometimes 7 innings. And his arm, I just don't see it being able to go that for the long haul. I think Blake Snell is perfect fit. Stay out in the West Coast, is with the Dodgers. So I think the Dodgers, once if we're going by what I'm saying, once they missed on Yamamoto, once they missed on Ohtani, they gotta bring somebody in, and I think it's gonna be Blake Snell. So next up, we're gonna go Cody Bellinger. So let's start with George. George, where do you think the perfect fit for Cody would be?
I think the Yankees are going to try to sign him. I really do. They need an outfielder. He can also play first base and did it fairly well. Right now they got Rizzo penciled in there, but he's coming off the concussion thing, so you don't know what you're going to get there. He should come back fine. He's a quality vet, but I think the Yankees are going to go full court press on him.
Okay, Chris, what about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with George. It's gonna be the Yankees. I mean, the short porch is perfect for them, and they need an outfielder, especially since Giancarlo's gonna probably go out 3rd or 4th game this year for the season for stub toe or a hangnail.
Okay, DC, what about you, man?
No, I agree with the Yankees. I think it's the most obvious answer. But if I had to pick a dark horse, if Seattle wants to spend, which they don't typically do under a new president, I'd say maybe the Mariners. He has a really low strikeout rate last year. They need to, keep pace with the Rangers, so eventually they're going to have to spend eventually. But if I had to pick, I think the Yankees are the most obvious choice.
Micah, what about you?
I think the Yankees are a good choice, but I think if you're him, I think you've refound your MVP form in Chicago. The Cubs are going to spend, and I think if you're comfortable where you are, I think you stay because you can have success there. Going to the Yankees, that's probably the opposite of being comfortable because they're going to expect him to put up big numbers. Whereas if he stays in Chicago, I think the fans already love him. So I'm going to go with the Cubs because they have money to spend. They need to be aggressive, and they already have that relationship with him.
Oh man, Micah, you took my team. Like I'm thinking he's going to resign with the Cubs just because overall they need one outfielder, a first baseman, and third base. George and I, when we had Crawley on, that's their key holes that they have. And Bellinger plays 2 out of 3 of those. So I think he's going to be a perfect fit for Chicago. I think that he's going to re-sign with them and just hopefully potentially shut the Yankees out of all conversations. So next up, let's go reliever. Let's go left-hand dominance. Let's go Josh Hader. So, Micah, let's start with you. Where would you sit there and think the perfect location for Hader to end up be?
If you look at MLB trade rumors, the deal that he is supposed to be getting is ridiculous. It's like 6 years, $110 million. I do think someone may throw that type of money at him. When you look at who could do that, the Rangers come to mind. They like to spend, and they need a closer. Their bullpen was really good in October last year, but it was not very good during the regular season. So I think Hader could go to Texas, and I think he could really stabilize that bullpen. I just going $100+ million for a reliever, that just seems crazy. But it would not shock me if that's what he actually gets.
Okay. Chris, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree. It's the Rangers is the obvious choice. I mean, they're willing to spend. They're just coming off the World Series. and with that kind of money coming in from the World Series and everything else, they're the team that's in need, and that would somewhat solidify their rotation and their bullpen too.
Okay. George, what about you, man?
I'm going St. Louis Cardinals. I think that they've already added 3 veteran older pitchers. I think that they can really solidify their pitching staff by putting Hader at the back end. The question is, do they want to pay? I don't think he's getting paid that much. I mean, I think you're right. I mean, that's a lot of money. He's already familiar with the division too, so I think St. Louis could tab him.
Okay, DC, where are you thinking?
I'm going to ride the Rangers train. I think you move the Clerk to the 8th inning. You get rid of Aroldis Chapman and his meltdowns. He almost cost him a good amount of games in the playoffs. Ship Leclerc to the 8th, Hader hold down to 9th. I think that's a pretty solid 1-2 punch. And they're willing to spend. Like, that is a crazy amount of money for a reliever. But, like they said, coming off that World Series championship, they want to keep things rolling. So I think that it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, what was it? Diaz got the record for a reliever, 5 for 102, last year. It'd be crazy to sit there and think that Hader's going to one-up him. I was tossing back and forth between 2 teams, and my runner-up is Dombrowski with the Phillies. So, but then I was thinking, well, last time that this team went out and got a solid 100% closer, they won a World Series. I can see the Hader going to the Chicago Cubs. He's familiar with the division. Like I said, last time they went and got Chapman, they won the World Series. So I think Hader could be that piece in the bullpen to help him close out games. And I already have him, taking Bellinger and bringing him back. So, and they're willing to sit there and make a splash this offseason. So I'm gonna have to sit there and go Cubs. So let's just get the cat out of the bag. Jordan Montgomery, he's off seasons in Boston. It's looking pretty nice. His wife's doing a residency right up there. So DC, what are you thinking?
I want to say he's the 1-2 punch with Yamamoto for the Sox, but if it wasn't the Sox, I'd say the Rangers probably throw a bunch of money at him too. He's proven there, he helped them win a championship, so he has the pedigree in the postseason. And like Micah said, you perform well in such in an area that you're comfortable in, it just makes a lot of sense. But I would love to see him in Boston. Oh, he's on my fantasy team, so it'd be sweet.
George, what about you, man?
I think he is the 1-2 punch with Yamamoto coming to Boston. Fortunately, his wife's doing a residency in one of the big hospitals in town. So, yeah, I think he doesn't have to worry about his family. She's close. He can, whatever arrangements he's making now. He's working out over at Boston College. He's a 15-minute green line ride to Fenway. I think he's coming. I think he's coming to Boston. I think that he's got a chance to get a feel for the city, and it's all about family too. He can be close to his wife during the season.
Chris, what about you, man?
Took the words right out of my mouth. I think he's coming to Boston. I mean, with the way everything works out, it's all about location. It's just how to keep the price right. The thing that's going to hamper Boston is that millionaires tax too when it comes to signing these guys.
Yep.
That's a huge deterrence for a lot of those people that are signing there. But I mean, if you look at everything like what George said, I mean, the wife's there, the family's there. I mean, it's a perfect fit, but I mean, I could see him going back to the Rangers too.
Michael, what about you, man?
I hope it's Yamamoto and Montgomery, but I think it's going to be Montgomery coming to Boston. But if that were to happen, I don't think Yamamoto comes to Boston as well. I don't see the Red Sox spending $450 million on 2 pitchers. With what we've seen over the last half decade or so. I have to see that to believe it. But I think Montgomery will come to Boston. I think he will be the big free agent pitching signing. But when you bring up Texas, when you compare the taxes, the Red Sox may have to overspend and give him extra money to kind of cover the gap that there would be if he were to sign with Texas. But give me Boston for Montgomery.
And I'll sit there and also say Boston. It's just odd in my thing why he chose Boston. Like everybody else in the offseason goes south. Everybody, Florida, Arizona, but he chose Boston for the offseason. So I'm thinking he's trying to get the feel of the city. He's trying to figure out how to get around, town. Heck, I'll be his personal Uber driver. It don't matter to me. I'll drive from Pennsylvania all the way up to Boston every day, anywhere he wants to go.
Bring him up to Maine.
But I really sit there and think I would really want Yamamoto and Montgomery. That would be ideal for me. I think it's going to be one or the other and a trade piece. But I really sit there and think the perfect fit right now and the perfect marriage is Montgomery and the Red Sox. So, and speaking of the Red Sox, next up will be a former DH, JD Martinez. So, Micah, where would you sit there and think the perfect fit for JD would be?
That's a tough one, just because he cannot play the field nowadays. He's pretty much a permanent DH. I'm going to go with the Cubs. I think he could go to Chicago, be the big bat in the middle of the order. I think him and Cody Bellinger would be a great 3-4 punch or 2-3 punch, whatever they'd want to do. But I think he could hit a lot of home runs in the Windy City.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. DC, what about you, man?
I completely agree with Micah. I think that's a great fit. You can't play the field at all. But I think, with that young team, I think he could also mentor a lot of guys and hit a lot of bombs.
George, what about you, man?
I like the idea of the Cubs, but I'm going to say the Marlins. I think he wants to go home. He's a Miami kid. He's getting towards the end of his career. Why not finish near home? And he'd be good for the younger. He'd be good for the younger hitters. You saw what he did in Boston in terms of, getting everybody focused on hitting, and people, in that lineup benefited from it because he's a professional hitter. And you're absolutely right, Micah. He cannot play the field. So,
Chris, what about you, man?
I think he wants to go home. I think the Marlins are a good fit, but I think he's coming back to the division. I think Tampa's going to sign him.
Oh,
ooh.
Okay. Well, I took our division also, but I took Baltimore. The way JD worked with a lot of our younger guys when he was there, I think he could sit there and help out a slew of talent there in Baltimore. I would sit there and think that Baltimore would, want an extra pop in the bat. They need more starting pitching, but I think if JD's price is right, I think he would be a perfect fit and a perfect mentor for that team down there. Let's go over to third base, Matt Chapman. So let's start with you, George. Where's Chapman going?
Ooh.
The perfect fit.
Cubs.
Cubs.
We know they need third base. After talking to Crawley a couple of times, he's screaming out loud that they need a third baseman. He'd be fine there. Good hitters park. I think he's going to the Cubs.
Okay, Chris, what about you?
100% agree. I think it's the Cubs.
Okay, DC.
Cubs. Definitely Cubs. I hate to, ride the train, but
hey, when a guy makes a good point and takes the wind out of his sails, you got to roll.
I don't need to say anything.
Michael, what about you?
I can see the Cubs, but I'm not going to ride the train. I'm going to go the Giants. I think they need a third baseman as well. He's already been out west when he played with Oakland, so I think he's going to be the third baseman of the San Francisco Giants.
Okay. I will not follow the train, even though, George, I pushed for Chapman.
I know.
Last week. I sit there and said Chapman to the Cubs. But I think that he is going to be a New York Yankee. So I think the Yankees, after being looking pretty stupid, not getting any of the top names that they want, are going to sit there and have to go to, the second and third tier levels, and they're going to go after a third baseman, Matt Chapman.
I hope you didn't just jinx that.
Oh,
I would love that actually, because I think he is going to be extremely overpaid. MLB trade rumors has him for like 6 and 150. And I just don't view him anywhere in that area. And if the Yankees were to pay him that much, I would be all on board.
Yeah, I'm down with them to sign it, but I just hope they don't. I hope they still miss out on those free agents. I hope you just didn't jinx that one. That'd be awful, man. I hate the Yankees. God damn.
Let's sit there and switch it up from free agent quick. Let's go trade value, trade market. Now, George, we're going to start with you because you wrote a piece for us that the video is being released later today. Where would be the perfect fit for Juan Soto?
I would like to see him in Boston. Okay. The big deal. The thing with him is extension. All right. Get one more year after this year. He's a UFA. Okay. I think he ends up in New York, and it's a flip a coin, whether it's the Yankees or the Mets. I mean, both teams are going to go right wall to wall. They usually try not to compete with each other because it doesn't do either team any good. But I think he ends up in New York. I'm thinking the Mets, right? The Mets need to do a whole new makeover after last winter. They overpaid on some pitching that didn't work out. They lost Diaz for the season in the WBC freak injury. They need a bat, okay, and they need and somebody that can roam the outfield and do it and play it well. You probably ends up with the Mets.
Okay, Chris, what about you? What are you thinking?
well, with everything that I'm reading online, I mean, with the Yankees stalling right now on their trade talks for Soto, but I mean they have the pieces to get him. But honestly, I think it's between Boston and both New York teams, and the one that's going to be best to sign the extension is going to be the Mets.
Micah, what about you?
I do think he's going to get traded, but I think there's absolutely 0% chance he signs an extension. I think he's going to get traded, play the 1 year out, and then he's going to hit free agency. There's no way he's signing anything. He already turned down a massive extension with the Nationals. When he's 1 year away, he's definitely going to go hit the open market and see what his value really is. So for a 1 year rental, I'm going to go with the Mariners and Jerry DiPoto. He loves making trades. They need a bat. I could see them just taking a flyer on 1 year. They have a good farm system. They have a lot of pitching. So I could just see them saying, let's see what happens this year. And then, if it doesn't work out and they're not really in it come the deadline, even if they're in the mix, that he could trade him at the deadline anyways, because he's the ultimate deal maker when it comes to general managers in professional baseball.
And the guy who's not afraid to trade his closer at the deadline is a dealer.
Guys, it's been a pleasure. I got to head out. It's been a pleasure, guys.
Okay, man. Take care, Chris.
Thanks
a lot, man.
Chris.
Thanks. Happy holidays.
You too. Me?
Yep, DC, you're up, man.
I really like the Mariners, like Micah said. If I had to say, I mean, I would love for him to come to Boston, but I wouldn't want them to give up all those pieces for a 1 year rental. I think there's other areas you need to focus on, obviously, like pitching. I could see the Mets throwing a bunch of good players at him. You're at the Padres to get him traded. I would say ultimately, if I had to choose, it'd probably be the Mets. I could see Cohen just trying to make a big splash. Last year was a huge disappointment. Put all that money into that team, and they had an ungodly, terrible year. So ultimately, I think he probably ends with the Mets. Obviously, I really don't want to go to the Yankees, but I'd say Mets.
Well, unfortunately, DC, I'm on the opposite end of you. I think that he's going to be going to the Yankees. I think they're going to be really stupid and try to give up a whole bunch of pieces to get him. But I also think the Padres are in the predicament of the Red Sox when they had Mookie Betts. So for them to get Juan Soto for a year, the Yankees, I'm thinking, is going to have to take Yu Darvish's contract too, or at least a portion of that contract to help them get under the luxury tax. If it's not Darvish's contract, it could be Cronenworth, because I have no idea why they paid him, what they did. It's going to be, they got to unload one of those contracts. I hope it would not be Bogarts's. That would sit there and kill me to see Bogarts in pinstripes. But I think the Padres are going to have to sit there and piece somebody to get it on there, like we did with David Price's contract, to get something in return for Soto, because they don't want to look stupid and not get nothing in return.
The other thing is the Padres are in flux right now. Their owner just died. They're kind of trying to feel their way out. He tried to load up to get a championship before he died. I mean, and I think that they're trying to unwind from that. They're going to have to. You're right. They're going to have to unwind from a couple of those contracts, maybe even a Manny Machado contract. So,
as long as he don't come to Boston, he wouldn't make it.
Dang, he was only 63. Sorry.
No. Yeah, it's tragic what happened. You hate to see people pass away that young.
Yeah.
63 is that's young in today's world for sure. I think the Cronenworth contract, I think that's a great attachment to get out of, because it's not. I don't think you could possibly attach a Xander Bogaerts or even a Machado, because they have 10 more years. Like, you'd have to eat some of the money, but I just don't see any team willing to take on that for just 1 year of Juan Soto. Essentially, if you were to do that, you would get no prospects in return. And I do think they would probably want one or two prospects similar to Mookie Betts. The Red Sox were able to get Wong back, and they were able to get Downs and Verdugo. So I think if you attach Cronenworth, you could maybe get one or two decent prospects in return as well.
Yeah, and the Padres, they need to get under the luxury cap, just because they need one or two starting pitchers. Snell's not there. So they need to get under to try to, they need a closer now too, with Hader. So let's go Gilbert up in Seattle. What would it take for some team to come around and get Gilbert from Seattle? Let's start with you, Micah.
He's a really, really good pitcher. Probably, I would say right now he's probably a number 2. I don't really see him as an ace. He has the ace makeup, but we haven't seen him be that front of the rotation type arm just yet. I believe he has 3 more years of team control. So if you're going to get even a number 2 in today's market via the trade, and he has 3 years of team control, I do think the Red Sox are a terrific fit for him, just based on needs, but they would absolutely have to part with either Marcelo Mayer or Roman Anthony. You could not acquire a pitcher of that caliber with team control without giving up one of those two guys. I think if I had to choose, I would absolutely give up Roman Anthony for Gilbert. I'm very high on Anthony. I think he's going to be a really good player, but eventually the Red Sox are going to, if they can't produce their own starting pitchers, and they have Bayo, but that's pretty much it right now, where we could say this is a sure lock for a big league rotation spot. If you can't produce your own right now, you have to go out and make a trade, and you have to give up something if you really want to get something good in return. And I think you have to give up one of your top prospects. The Red Sox outfield is already kind of a log jam, and Anthony is probably at least a full year, if not a year and a half, away from the big leagues. He's also a lefty, which the Red Sox have a lot of in the outfield. So I would be all for Anthony for Gilbert. Maybe there's another small piece in there as well, but the Red Sox need pitching, and they really need to get back to competing, because I'm not a Boston sports fan. I'm just a Sox fan, but I realize that they are really far behind teams like the Celtics and the Bruins even. So if John Henry's fine with that, so be it, but I don't think he is, and they really need to make some splashes, and that would be a big splash.
You're on mute.
DC, you're up, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to piggyback off Micah again, but he made really good points. I think you have to give up one of those two. I think ultimately I agree completely that I think Roman Anthony is the way to go. That 3 years control is huge on a guy like him. So I think you got to make that trade. And if you're not, like you said, if you're not producing your own pitching, you got to go out and get it. And right now is the time to do it. He's obviously, like you said, a year or two away from making to the show, making an impact. We need to win now. You know what I mean? So I'm all for that. I think he's a great fit for Boston. And like I said, I just love the 3 years control. That's huge.
I'm going to go to the same division. I think it's the Baltimore Orioles. You know, they can't spend money like other teams can. Well, they can, but they choose not to. But
yeah, man.
But they have that farm system that they can give them the prospects they want. Get Gilbert for 3 more years that they don't have to pay for a top name, and just keep going. Like I could see him going to be traded to a team like Baltimore, overall. I'm pretty much, we're gonna sit there and switch back to Solier. Where would you sit there, Micah, and see the perfect fit for him?
Boston is a good fit for him. The right-handed power bat, the Red Sox are desperate for that. I'm not sure the Red Sox are going to sign him. A good fit would be maybe the Cardinals. They could use a power bat like that. I don't think there are 3 starting pitchers that they signed, although Gray was a pretty significant deal. The other 2 were kind of minor deals, and I think the Cardinals are probably one or two moves away from really getting back to competing for the NL Central. So I think a Soler deal could make a lot of sense.
Okay. George, what about you?
I think it'd be a nice fit in Boston. I think he's just going to stay in the National League. I think I wouldn't be surprised if the Pirates tried to get him. They've been trying to find a bat, with some of the moves they've made recently. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up with the Pirates.
Okay. DC, what about you?
Bring him to Boston. That's all I got to say. I'd love for him to be on that team. Right-handed bat. If we lose out on Duvall, obviously how everything else plays out, but I think is a really, really good fit in Boston. He would pepper that monster.
Man, okay. I'm tossed between 2 teams, but I think overall, the Marlins are going to sign him back. Okay. A lot of young guys down there, a lot of, and he kind of like revitalized his career down there a little bit too. So I sit there and think definitely it would be, in my opinion, the Marlins. So next up, a guy is kind of close to our heart, Eduardo Rodriguez. Mixed emotions with him. Could we bring him back? Should we bring him back? Personally, there's a reason why he left. Let's not rekindle that. So DC, where would you sit there and like to see Rodriguez?
I'd have to say maybe the Dodgers or Cardinals. I know he blocked that trade in the middle of the season last year, but I think I read a report that he's the geographical factors aren't really a thing anymore. Like we said a million times today, Dodgers need pitching help. I think it'd be a good fit. And then also Cardinals, like I said earlier, I think they're willing to overspend on some pitching. They desperately need it. I think ultimately maybe the Dodgers.
Okay,
I don't
George,
know
what
how I
about
feel
you?
about him coming back to Boston.
Yeah.
I'm a little iffy on that.
Yeah, I like what he did in 2021 towards the with our run, but I think that was the last little bit of gas. I think he had left in the tank. So George, what about you?
Yeah, we've seen this act before. I don't see him coming here. I think the Cubs might go make a run at him. I think they need a quality pitcher. And when he's on, he's got great stuff. He's probably a 3 or a low end 2, but I think I wouldn't be surprised if the Cubs did it. Wouldn't have to pack up and move very far from Detroit. So,
okay, Michael, what about you?
I don't think Boston's a fit. If he's going to seek a 4 or 5 year deal, I would have been fine with that, an extension back at the end of 2021, I think it was. Was that his last year in Boston?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have been fine with that. But now that he's, I think, 29 or about to be 30, I don't want any part of a 4 or 5 year deal for Eduardo Rodriguez. So I'm going to go with the Mets. I think you could put him in the rotation as their number 3 behind Senga. And then I'm still expecting the Mets to either make a big splash this year for an ace or next year at some point. But I think he could help stabilize that rotation because he is a good pitcher, but I think his days of like kind of leading a rotation like he did in Boston, I don't really see that being the case moving forward.
Okay, I'm going to go West Coast. I'm going to say Giants. I think that ballpark will help him, with his career. They're going to be looking for somebody out there. I think he would be perfect fit out there for the San Francisco Giants. So, guys, for the last couple of minutes here that we're going to be running, let's sit there and just talk. Winter weekend starts today. So last year, a lot of big names came off the board early. Let's sit there and talk. Who do you guys think will be the first name that gets that deal done and comes off the board? So, Micah, let's start with you. What are you thinking?
I'm a little hesitant to say that. I'm not sure anything really big may happen because we know Yamamoto is not going to sign during the winter meetings. He's going to be meeting with teams the week after the winter meetings to kind of finalize everything. And if Blake Snell doesn't get signed at the winter meetings, I feel like teams are the starting pitching market is going to be kind of stuck in limbo. So I don't think anybody could potentially, any big starters get signed during this time. If Snell gets signed, then I think the market moves and then we kind of wait for Yamamoto. But I think the first big name would be Cody Bellinger. I think he will go off the board sometime during the winter meetings.
Okay. George, let's go with you.
For me, it's Shohei. We talked about this a couple of times when Aaron Nola signed. Dombrowski set the floor with Nola's contract. Okay. Shohei is going to set the ceiling. After that, everything else slots in with the pitchers. It's the one thing Major League Baseball right now is everybody's looking for is frontline pitching. You don't get it in 24, but you will in 25. So I think that once Shohei goes, Snell, Montgomery, all the dominoes fall after that. Position players, those can go at any time. But yeah, I think Shohei wants to be the number 1 out of there because he already knows that Yamamoto supposedly isn't going to do anything until after the meetings. So why not grab attention? Everybody's eyes are on Nashville. Would make sense for him and his handlers.
Oh, okay. DC, what about you?
Yeah, I agree with both of them. I think obviously we're in a weird spot with the pitching market. It hasn't been set. I mean, obviously the Nola contract, but until Yamamoto signs or Snell, there's not much going to happen on that front. I think I agree with George. I think Ohtani is going to sign rather quickly, and then it's going to kind of just fall from there. I like that little one-liner you had with setting the floor and then the ceiling. That was nice. That was a good one. But I'd say Ohtani.
I say a signing won't be the first big splash. I think by the end, I'm going to put it out there. By 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock tonight, Juan Soto will be a New York Yankee. That would be the first. That would be the first move to come off the board. By 8 or 9 o'clock Eastern time tonight, Juan Soto will be wearing pinstripes.
Write that one down, boys.
Is this podcast going to drop before that? I'm just wondering.
Oh, this will be dropping probably 10 minutes after we're done.
Okay, all right. So it's going to be
All
out
right,
there
cool.
for people to hear that.
Yes.
And then by 8 or 9 o'clock,
I'm going to be all over them.
Yeah, I would expect people to be messaging you and tagging you, saying, where's your move after 8 or 9 if it does not happen.
If nobody does, I will.
Okay.
Count on it. Me too.
I appreciate that. Hey, I sit there and throw out some crazy stuff. During our trade deadline show, Micah, I said that Arenado was going to the Yankees. So,
I mean, that would be a smart move for somebody to do, just because he is a super talented player. But I think he's actually in a perfect spot in St. Louis. But he would be a really good Yankee.
yeah. But I don't know. I just think that it's going to be a Juan Soto trade. I don't know. Something just tells me that. And, package. I can see them packaging, like you said, Cronenworth with him. And then they can trade Gleyber if they wanted to. Not to us. Please, not to us. But
I get the sense that like Yankee fans hate Torres. And like, I'm not saying he's the greatest player. And he really has taken a step back since I think that like 40 plus home run season. But I really think the juiced baseball has really inflated his numbers. But I still think he's a really, really good player, a productive second baseman. You don't see offensive numbers at that position that he's able to produce. And I feel like when he leaves New York, I just feel like they're going to be like, wow, he was a good player, and we really didn't appreciate what he was able to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just don't think he would be a fit over here. Like, it just doesn't work out for me. I kind of like, I'm on Ed Hand's train, with Merrifield. I do like him. If we wanted to go younger, I like Ryan McMahon out of Colorado. If we can trade and get him, heck, I would be happy to sit there and provide our services for a 3-way trade with the Yankees and the Padres. Yankees get Juan Soto. We're send over Verdugo. We get Cronenworth for second base, and Padres get all of Yankees, the whole AAA team. Because that's the names that are going out there, like 4, 5, 6 people, going over there for a Juan Soto rental. That's ridiculous. So, but we would end up with Cronenworth.
Yeah, the only problem with Cronenworth is that he's a left-handed bat, and I really feel like the Red Sox can't afford to acquire any more left-handed bats. I feel like they have to trade a left-handed bat or two, especially in the outfield. Like I think Verdugo will be gone by the end of the offseason, but putting another left-handed bat at second base, and you can't. I don't think they can acquire someone with. I think he has 4 years of team control or something like that. If you have Trevor Story for 4 more years and Marcelo Mayer is a left-handed hitting shortstop, I don't see where you'd be able to then put Cronenworth in the future. He's not a power bat, so you're not going to DH him. I mean, he's really a singles, doubles type hitter. I don't think I would want any part of him in Boston, honestly, even if it was at a discount because San Diego ate part of the contract or somebody ate part of the deal. I still don't think I would want him.
Yeah, second base, you need better defense, but you're also going to do it on a short-term basis because that once Meyer arrives, Story's going to second base, whether he likes it or not. Okay, and yeah, you're right. I mean, he doesn't provide power. He's going to cost you a lot because of the control factor. So,
well, what do you guys think about Ryan McMahon from Colorado?
I don't mind him. He's I feel like he gets hurt a good amount, and then I worry about coming from Colorado to Boston.
Mhm.
But he is he's a little younger. I wouldn't hate it. It just depends on the return.
Okay. Well, what other options are we looking at for the Red Sox to be going after?
At second,
Yeah, at second. Like
Merrifield and Anderson are the top two that come to mind. Okay, veterans. Merrifield, I'm on the Merrifield train. Anderson, we've talked about him before. I mean, he's got the talent and everything. I think he just got churned in Chicago, and don't know what he's going to be in the clubhouse. But yeah, I mean, I'm on the Merrifield train for a year or two.
Like I know DC's huge on Anderson, but like if AC didn't like Verdugo in the locker room with some of his antics, is he going to be able to handle Tim Anderson in the locker room with his on the field attitude he has?
I just think a change of scenery would be huge. I mean, the White Sox organization is kind of a dumpster fire. I mean, I'm not making excuses for him. You got to be a good teammate. You got to do the right things. But I think you get to I know we haven't had really much of a winning mentality there or culture, the last 2 years. But I think a change of scenery with the right players, I think it would be a good one, a little bridge.
The question is, who's going to keep him in check? If a Justin Turner's on the team, he'll keep him in check. Okay. I don't see who else is on there. Trevor Story, maybe, but other than that, I don't.
If Turner doesn't come back, I sit there and think that I think Story has to be the locker room leader. Unless, like I've said it before, I would rather not resign McGuire, and I'd love to get Mitch Garver on our team.
Yep.
To help with that catcher until get him for 3 years for Kyle Teal to get prepared to come up, and don't rush him at all. So, Micah, what are your thoughts?
I don't like Tim Anderson in Boston. I think he is a great candidate for a bounce back year, change of scenery guy. I just don't think he's going to handle the Boston market well. It's not an easy place to play. And he's going to be expected to come in and really, well, how are you changed after, some incidents in Chicago? And I just don't think he's going to be ready to answer those types of questions in the Boston media. If I had a second base option, I think Tommy Edman for the Cardinals. I think a trade with them would be interesting. He's a switch hitter, so you don't have to worry about just a left-handed hitter. He's a really good defender. And I think when Story, looking in the future, if Story slides over to second, you have Mayer at short. I think you could have Edman kind of be a super utility guy. I think that would be a good role for him. So I think there could be a trade there just because St. Louis has so many of these types of players like Edman, where they're really good players, but they might not be everyday guys, or they're not superstar talents. They have a lot of those type players. So I think Edman could be on the move. In terms of catcher, I would have liked to have gotten rid of Reese McGuire as well. I think Gary Sanchez would have been a really interesting candidate because just of the power. You could DH him at times too. I think Gary Sanchez with the power numbers, I would be intrigued by him as well.
Okay. So, guys, we're going to wrap things up here. So make sure you sit there, head on over to our YouTube channel. It's at BSEN617. That's our big company that's over top of us. We are doing a huge David Ortiz autographed mini helmet. DC, would you like to tell the how to enter for this thing?
Yeah, go to Twitter. I think it's a retweet, tag a friend, and then also go to the YouTube page and subscribe. And once you get to 750, we'll pull a winner. It's a huge giveaway. Really cool to do that.
We're so close to getting there. I think we're like 24 away to.
Yeah, last I saw it was 726, I think, earlier.
Yeah,
I could be wrong about that.
guys, get out there and enter the contest. Get this before the Christmas holidays. So head on over to our website, which is down below DC and Micah, or scan the QR code up top. We just got done with our Black Friday sales, and we had tons of stuff going out. George, I see you got our hot cocoa mug.
Yeah, Deb loves it. It's a huge mug. You come with cocoa, candy cane, and marshmallows in a very nice package that was wrapped. I took it out so we could better see it on camera, but really nice setup in a huge mug. So here we go.
Man. Hey, we were thinking it takes about an hour to do a podcast and listen to it. You got to have enough cocoa for it. So, you got baseball, cocoa, and the Pesky Podcast. Can't sit there and get any more. So
if I order one of those, will you hand deliver it to me?
Well, yeah.
Cool.
So, but for the OG George Sutherland, our guest, Mr. Micah Ballpark Buzz himself, my co-host DC, and myself, check us out next time on the Pesky Podcast.